The year 2024 has been a tumultuous one for Russia. The conflict in Ukraine grinds on, defying expectations. Russia has seen both victories and setbacks. But one thing is clear. This war has exposed cracks in Russia's facade of strength. Beneath the surface of official pronouncements, a sense of unease is growing. The economy, while propped up by allies like China, teeters on the edge. Putin's grip on power, though seemingly absolute, relies on a carefully constructed narrative. And that narrative is starting to crumble. Nowhere is this more evident than in Crimea. This peninsula, illegally annexed in 2014, has become a focal point of the conflict. Ukraine's recent successes there have sent shockwaves through the Kremlin. The battle for Crimea is about more than just territory. It's about legitimacy, about national pride, about the very future of Russia itself. And as the fighting intensifies, the stakes couldn't be higher. For Russia, Crimea is more than just a strategic asset. It's a symbol of past glory, a potent reminder of Russia's imperial ambitions. The annexation of Crimea in 2014 was wildly popular within Russia. But this victory came at a price. The international community condemned the annexation, slapping sanctions on Russia, and with each attack, the myth of Russian invincibility fades a little more. Crimea's importance to Russia is threefold: military, economic, and symbolic. Militarily, it's home to the Russian Black Sea Fleet, a key component of Russia's naval power. The peninsula also serves as a staging ground for Russian forces operating in southern Ukraine. Economically, Crimea is a gateway to the Black Sea, a vital trade route. Its ports handle significant amounts of grain, oil, and other goods. Control over Crimea gives Russia leverage over these vital shipping lanes. But it's the symbolic importance of Crimea that truly resonates. For many Russians, Crimea is an integral part of their national identity. Its loss would be a devastating blow, both to national pride and to Putin's carefully cultivated image of strength. Ukraine understands this. That's why they are targeting Crimea with such ferocity. They know that by striking at the heart of Russia's symbolic power, they can inflict maximum damage. Ukraine's strategy in Crimea is two-pronged. First, they're targeting Russian military infrastructure to degrade Russia's ability to wage war. Second, they're striking symbolic targets to undermine Russian morale. The most visible element has been the use of sea drones. These drones have repeatedly struck Russian warships and their infrastructure. The attacks have exposed the vulnerability of Russia's Black Sea Fleet. Ukraine is also using long-range missiles to target key infrastructure. These attacks are disrupting Russian operations and inflicting casualties. They're sending a message: Crimea is not safe. Section 5. The Sea Drone Offensive. The use of sea drones represents a new and unpredictable threat to Russia's naval dominance. These relatively cheap and easily deployable vessels have proven remarkably effective at penetrating Russian defenses. Their impact extends beyond the immediate damage inflicted. The psychological effect of these attacks is significant. The sight of sophisticated drones crippling warships in what Russia considers its own waters has shaken the confidence of the Russian Navy. It has also exposed the limitations of their air defenses, once thought to be impenetrable. Ukraine's drone program is rapidly evolving, with new and more potent versions constantly being developed. This constant innovation keeps Russia off balance, forcing them into a reactive posture. The fear of these silent, deadly attackers now haunts the Black Sea. Section 6. Choking the supply lines. Beyond the headline-grabbing drone attacks, Ukraine is pursuing a more subtle but equally devastating strategy: strangling Crimea's supply lines. The peninsula is heavily reliant on supplies from mainland Russia, transported via a handful of vulnerable routes. The Kerch Bridge, a symbol of Russia's annexation, has become a prime target. Repeated attacks, though not completely destroying it, have disrupted traffic flow and highlighted its vulnerability. This vital artery is now under constant threat. Ukraine is also targeting rail lines and roads leading into Crimea, using a combination of sabotage, artillery strikes, and long-range missiles. These attacks are making it increasingly difficult and costly for Russia to resupply its forces. This strategy of attrition is slowly but surely grinding down Russia's ability to sustain its occupation. As supplies dwindle and logistical challenges mount, the pressure on Russian forces in Crimea will only grow. Section 7. The Political Tightrope. The escalating situation in Crimea presents Putin with a perilous dilemma. He has staked his reputation on the peninsula's security, tying it closely to his vision of Russian resurgence, yet every Ukrainian success there exposes his vulnerability. So far, Putin has been able to control the narrative within Russia, downplaying Ukrainian successes and blaming the West for the conflict. But as the situation in Crimea deteriorates, this becomes increasingly difficult. The Russian public, though largely supportive of Putin, is not immune to the realities of war. A steady drip of bad news from Crimea, coupled with the growing economic costs of the conflict, could eventually erode public support. Putin is walking a tightrope. He needs to project strength and resolve while also managing expectations and deflecting blame. It's a delicate, balancing act, and one misstep could have disastrous consequences. Section 8, a gambit with global stakes. The conflict in Crimea has ramifications far beyond Ukraine's borders. It represents a direct challenge to the post-Cold War order, with Russia openly flouting international law and redrawing borders by force. The world is watching closely. For the West, supporting Ukraine is about more than just helping a fledgling democracy. It's about sending a message that aggression will not be tolerated. A Russian victory in Ukraine would embolden other authoritarian regimes, undermining global stability. China, too, is watching with keen interest. While providing economic and diplomatic support to Russia, Beijing is wary of the potential consequences of a protracted conflict. A weakened Russia, bogged down in Ukraine, does little to advance China's interests. The stakes are high for everyone involved. The outcome of the battle for Crimea could well determine the future of Europe and perhaps even the world. Section 9, the Specter of Escalation. As the situation in Crimea becomes more precarious, the risk of escalation looms large. Putin, facing mounting pressure and dwindling options, may be tempted to lash out in unpredictable and dangerous ways. Some analysts fear that Russia might resort to using tactical nuclear weapons, hoping to shock Ukraine and its Western backers into submission. Such a move, while unthinkable just a year ago, can no longer be ruled out. However, the use of nuclear weapons, even on a limited scale, would be a desperate gamble with potentially catastrophic consequences. It would cross a red line, inviting international condemnation and potentially triggering a wider conflict. The world holds its breath, hoping that cooler heads will prevail. But as the fighting in Crimea intensifies, the possibility of a miscalculation, of a small spark igniting a global conflagration, cannot be ignored. Section 10. A peninsula poised for change. The Crimean Peninsula, once a tranquil vacation destination, is now a powder keg. The outcome of the struggle for its control will have profound implications for both Russia and Ukraine. For Ukraine, retaking Crimea would be a symbolic victory of immense proportions. It would demonstrate their resilience, their determination to reclaim their stolen territory. It would also deal a crushing blow to Russia's prestige and ambitions. For Russia, losing Crimea would be a humiliating defeat, one that could shake the foundations of Putin's regime. It would expose the limits of Russian power, undermining their image as a global force. The consequences for Putin himself could be dire. As the fighting rages on, one thing is certain: Crimea's fate hangs in the balance. The peninsula, once a symbol of Russian pride, is now a battleground where the future of two nations and perhaps the world is being decided.
So hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and let's turn the page on a new adventure together. Get ready to experience books like never before, only on VBook 360. Like, comment, and share to support the channel and keep the video magic alive. Thank you for stopping by. And remember, every video has a story, and every story deserves to be shared. See you in the next video.